What's up, Edders? Today we're talking about this.
Now, they call him the UAP Gerb, and he is, of course, not only a formidable producer of acronyms and loves explaining them to us, he's the guy who's going to tell us what it all means. It's nice to have Sam back again to join us here on Reality Check, because today what we're going to do is go right back to where it all began.
Where you talked about allegations and rumors of a pretty high-profile person within the UAP topic being appointed at a very high level to kind of spearhead the disclosure initiative or be integral to it out of the White House or executive branch. I'm going to go ahead and take that leap, and I will be very plain here. That individual is Lue Elizondo, and he is currently being tasked, likely has the position for a National Security Council level role, exactly what he had been looking for as the quote-unquote UAP czar. This is detrimental to the disclosure process. This is extremely concerning.
To be fair to Lue has spoken quite openly about the retrieval program, the fact that there are craft that have been recovered. He's candidly admitted that Roswell was real. He's talked about the reverse engineering program. If you're accusing him of a cover-up, where's the evidence?
Well, first of all, let me just say I'm not accusing him of a cover-up. I'm relaying allegations because I don't want to get sued. And you do have to be careful of that with Lue to get sued or kind of threatened. So let me just make that clear. I'm making allegations, but I wouldn't be so sure he's been so open on the topic of crash retrievals and reverse engineering.
If you want to know what's wrong with the UFO community, you have people out there, and by the way, yes, I'm addressing you who lied, to look in the mirror. You're the reason why we're having this problem with disclosure. You're the reason why people don't take this topic seriously. And frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. I know I'm ashamed for what you did. You should be embarrassed. And the fact that you're talking to people and claiming you have access to stuff you don't, I don't ever remember you in any of the meetings that I was at the Pentagon or at ATIP, quite frankly. In fact, if you want inside information, going to talk to somebody and saying you have an inside source, as far as I'm concerned, that's called gossip. That's not information. And secondly, I think it's also important to say that as you continue to disparage and provide false information, remember, there's real consequences. There are real consequences for your actions and what you are doing. And I would not want to be you right now, because when this all comes out that you're just BSing, I think there's going to be a price to pay.
One scam can cost you everything. A friend of mine once got a message that looked exactly like it came from his bank. Same logo, same language, even used his name. He clicked, logged in, and 20 minutes later, $1,000 was gone. The bank alerts only showed up after the money had already been moved. And that's the part nobody talks about. Most of the tools we already use, password managers, bank notifications, antivirus, are good at warning you. They're not good at getting money back or walking you through the weeks of calls and paperwork that follow. That's why I use Coveron. It watches the dark web for my personal info, alerts me the second my logins or payment details get exposed, tracks my credit and any new accounts that get opened in my name, and gives me real financial backup. Up to $2 million identity theft recovery costs, and up to $10,000 if I lose money to online fraud or scams, plus actual people who guide you step by step, instead of leaving you to figure it out alone. I keep it running in the background every day. It's the only thing that makes me feel like I'm not just hoping nothing happens. I'm actually covered. If it does, one scam can cost you everything. Protect yourself now. The first 100 people get 20% off with the code VETTED at coveron.com/vetted. That's coveron.com/vetted, code VETTED. The link is also in the description. It's risk-free with a 30-day money-back guarantee. So grab it while the discount is still available. All right, Vetters, please hit that like button. That really helps out the videos. And of course, if you're not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button. All right, Vetters, yes, I have begun my brand new journey to record a new documentary for Vetted. So I am in the States for the next few months. So you'll be seeing different backgrounds and different places as I travel. But I am still going to be doing vetted videos, so rest assured nothing will change, just the backgrounds. Anyway, let's jump into today's video. Seems we've got a little battle for disclosure here in the UFO community because UAP Gerb recently did an interview with Ross Coulthart and basically came out against Lue Elizondo. I don't know any other way to put it. You can tell me what you think. And Lue Elizondo responded rather quickly, actually, and sort of called out Ross and UAP Gerb. So let's get into it.
Now, they call him the UAP Gerb, and he is, of course, not only a formidable producer of acronyms and loves explaining them to us, he's the guy who's going to tell us what it all means. It's nice to have Sam back again to join us here on Reality Check, because today what we're going to do is go right back to where it all began.
And I think this is an interesting introduction, my Ross. I mean, we get basically no reason told to us why we should listen to UAP Gerb, right? Isn't that the weirdest little intro you ever heard for somebody, right? They call him the Gerb. What? Like he's a wrestler or something. I just find that very interesting. Like, okay, what are his credentials in the sense of why should we be listening to him about the UAP program? What's going on? You know, he's a great researcher. He's been doing this for X years, you know, blah, 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 blah. You know, I'm a dumb commentator on this topic, right? And nobody should listen to me. But I'm not being touted on these programs as the UFO expert, but for what reason, right? I just find that very interesting, right? This introduction by Ross of Gerb, to be honest with you. I don't know. I just wanted to point that out because I just thought, wait, because he knows acronyms? Like that's what we're listening to? I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't have anything, but why not explain that to the audience, right? This interview, I'm not going to lie, it feels very set up. It feels like both of these guys talked about a lot of this stuff ahead of time and kind of knew what was happening. It feels like Ross is just leading him into questions he already knew were coming, right? I don't know. What do you think? That's kind of how I feel. I don't think these are questions Gerb was not expecting because he seems very prepared in all of his answers. So I don't know, but let's get to Gerb essentially calling out Elizondo.
But it strikes me what we're starting to see now is the beginning of something you and I have known about for some time, which is a schism in ufology, a schism in the UAP community. There are those who are digging for that reverse engineering recovery program of non-human technology. And there are those who are saying, just be happy with what you've got. Be happy with the small d disclosure. Is someone trying to control the narrative?
Yes. You made a statement recently as of recording this program where you talked about allegations and rumors of a pretty high-profile person within the UAP topic being appointed at a very high level to kind of spearhead the disclosure initiative or be integral to it out of the White House or executive branch. I'm going to go ahead and take that leap, and I will be very plain here. That individual is Lue Elizondo, and he is currently being tasked, likely has the position for a National Security Council level role, exactly what he had been looking for as the quote-unquote UAP czar. This is detrimental to the disclosure process. This is extremely concerning. Like you said, of partial disclosure, limited disclosure, we have seen this before. This takes us back to the year of 2017, in which Lue Elizondo and a cadre of other individuals under a program, an informal working group called ATIP, the Advanced Aerospace Threat Identification Program, had been working from 2009 to roll out a partial disclosure campaign at the behest of Lieutenant General and Director of National Intelligence James Clapper. Once again, we are in this situation, and it is perilous for the disclosure effort.
And I can already tell you right here, you know, that Lue was going to have a problem with this, right? There's no question when you hear this stuff. But again, I more want to know why we should be listening to Gerb about this. I mean, anyone watching my channel knows I'm not the biggest Lue Elizondo fan. Not at all, okay? And I've also criticized Gerb. There was a whole hoopla about it last week. But I don't dislike Gerb, right? But this is one of those things where I don't trust anybody. Right? I'm just beginning to see, like, I just don't trust any of these guys, right? I think the confusion is just what we're seeing, right? It's meant to argue over this, that, and the other, and to us to forget to keep asking for proof and evidence of aliens, because that's what I'm here for, not this BS, right? And it seems like we never get to the heart of the problem. And then we get these set up theatrical interviews posted to us, and we're supposed to ooh and ah, right, over all these, quote, bombshells, right? Again, the whole, it's like, it's annoying to keep repeating myself of why I use bombshells so much, right? All these things that get dropped, and as if we're getting all the answers. But I feel we're more, further from the truth than we've ever been, if you ask me. But again, nonetheless, UAP Gerb calling out Lue Elizondo, wasn't going to be pretty, right? Well, Gerb went even further. And this is probably the reason Luis Elizondo responded. Don't worry, I have a video of that. Because of what Gerb said here.
So what you're suggesting is that 10 years on from the beginning, if you like, of the disclosure movement, you believe there's another attempt to control the narrative yet again.
That's correct. And let's unpack this a little bit. Lue Elizondo, there are some staunch allegations that prior to him going public with the Leslie Kean New York Times article in 2017, I think the article is called Glowing Auras and Black Money, where 3 forward-looking infrared videos of anomalous signatures or UAP were released. There are pretty heavy allegations that Lue Elizondo himself had experience within the UAP legacy programs. There hasn't been much discussion about what this role was, but this alleged role was technology protection and program protection for the programs.
To be fair to Lue has spoken quite openly about the retrieval program, the fact that there are craft that have been recovered. He's candidly admitted that Roswell was real. He's talked about the reverse engineering program. If you're accusing him of a cover-up, where's the evidence?
Well, first of all, let me just say I'm not accusing him of a cover-up. I'm relaying allegations because I don't want to get sued. And you do have to be careful of that with Lue. To get sued or kind of threatened. So let me just make that clear. I'm making allegations, but I wouldn't be so sure he's been so open on the topic of crash retrievals and reverse engineering.
Yowzas, right? And look, I'm not going to deny that that's actually something I agree with what Gerb's saying. I've witnessed it with my own eyes. Lawyers for Luis Elizondo threatening and harassing people on Twitter. Doesn't mean Lue made them do that, but they definitely did it in Luis Elizondo's name, right? And no one else in the UFO community has people like that at all, except Luis Elizondo, right? But, Gerb goes a little bit further with his accusations. And I think this is what set off Luis Elizondo, and especially because he's being propped up by News Nation and Ross Coulthart. Lue sees it as a big news organization. And as Lue puts it, a news organization that's for disclosure. And what's interesting about Luis Elizondo's response is that he kind of validates things that Gerb is saying, at least about how Luis Elizondo and his team react to things, right? You don't want to be, threatened or sued by Lue, right? This feels so very coordinated. Again, I don't trust anybody. I'm beginning not to trust Gerb at all. I'm not saying I dislike him. I don't trust this. I don't trust Ross Coulthart and what he's doing. It all just feels very weird and coordinated. I definitely don't trust Luis Elizondo. Again, I'm just beginning not to trust any of it. Listen to Luis Elizondo's response here.
I'll share something else with you too, another anecdote about to show you the character of this individual. Recently, as a month ago, I attended a function in Washington, D.C. This individual happened to be there. I didn't know who he was, but I saw a circle of people surrounding him and they were berating him. I worried for his safety to some degree and maybe figured he was getting picked on and walked over and interjected. And as I pulled him away, I was told, hey, that's the guy that's been talking crap about everybody and been making things up. So I pulled him aside and I said, hey, look, these people are obviously pretty upset with you. If you have any questions in the future, here's my personal cell phone number. Now, this went against my better judgment, but I did it anyways. As you all know, I'm very open and transparent. So I said, look, if you ever have any questions, please give me a call. And obviously he looked at me. He had But to me, it looked like tears in his eyes. And he looked at me and said, "Oh, okay, sir. Yes, I promise I'll do that. I'll make sure that I call you if I have any questions in the future, and I won't do that." And just start spewing off garbage. And I don't know, it's good. I appreciate that. We can be friends. I'm happy to, whether you agree with me or not, I'm happy to give you information. Just reach out to me and I can clarify stuff. Well, guess what? A month later, he goes on a network television series and starts spewing off more crap that was completely wrong. He never called me once, right? So what kind of due diligence, investigative type skill set does it require just to go out and make up stuff about people, right? And this is why we're having a problem. If you want to know what's wrong with the UFO community, you have people out there, and by the way, yes, I'm addressing you who lied, to look in the mirror. You're the reason why we're having this problem with disclosure. You're the reason why people don't take this topic seriously. And frankly, you should be ashamed of yourself. I know I'm ashamed for what you did. You should be embarrassed. And the fact that you're talking to people and claiming you have access to stuff you don't, I don't ever remember you in any of the meetings that I was at the Pentagon or at ATIP, quite frankly. In fact, if you want inside information, going to talk to somebody and saying you have an inside source, as far as I'm concerned, that's called gossip. That's not information. And secondly, I think it's also important to say that as you continue to disparage and provide false information, remember, there's real consequences. There are real consequences for your actions and what you are doing. And I would not want to be you right now, because when this all comes out that you're just BSing, I think there's going to be a price to pay. So anyways, folks, I hope you're well. I didn't want to address this. I hate having to do this, because all it does is goad people and more people to want to have conversations. I'm in the middle of a drive across country. Last thing I need to do is, deal with this headache. But I think it's important enough to address it and address it head on and let you know the truth. I've always been committed to the truth. Hopefully most of you know that by practice. And be wary, be very careful of people who are trying to paint a false narrative and then try to get attention for it. Very, very disingenuous, very disingenuous. So here I am, folks, once again. And Ross, that goes for you, man. I love you, buddy, but you have my phone number. You can call me anytime, you know that. So if you have any questions of who I am or what I'm doing, that's never stopped you before from calling me. Just give me a shout. We have to be careful with media here, especially News Nation, who's a friend to disclosure. They've got a reputation. A lot of people listen to them. So we've really got to do our due diligence in making sure that the information that is being provided is accurate. And I do appreciate what you're doing, Ross. But please, for the love of God, be more careful with who you decide to have on your program.
I mean, what? Again, a lot of what Lue Elizondo is saying there sounds like total horse shit, right? First, he basically tells Gerb, he basically threatens Gerb in the video, if you ask me. That's my opinion, right? I'd be real careful if I was you. You're gonna regret, all these things that just feel very, again, what are you saying? Why are you saying this? And telling the story of Gerb at some function. I'm assuming this is Disclosure Day Foundation or Disclosure Foundation thing that happened in Washington, D.C. I know exactly the event. I guess Gerb was there, and Gerb was getting harassed by a bunch of people, and Lue Elizondo swooped in to save the day, like Spider-Man. You know what I mean? Just fucking came in on some webbing and just like, I got you, buddy. Come over here. Here's my number. Call me if you need anything. I mean, that doesn't sound weird, and then he's saying Gerb had tears in his eyes and was clearly like guffawing over Lue Elizondo. No offense, I just don't buy any of that. That sounds like total made up. I'm not saying the incident didn't happen, but I guarantee you it did not happen the way that Lue Elizondo is stating that it happened. Again, I have many critiques of UAP Gerb, and I've literally just stated in this video, I don't really trust the guy. Not for any, it's more for the reason of I just don't trust anybody in this community that's got big claims and all this stuff. I'm just beginning to see, like, keep my distance. It's too murky. It's too weird. You don't know which way's up and which way's down with these people. So why get involved? It could be good people, but I'm going to keep my distance. It just all feels weird. So, but again, Luis Elizondo saying the story, I just don't buy it. I don't buy that's how Gerb reacted at all. He doesn't seem like that type of guy. I just don't see him reacting that way. I'm just being honest. That doesn't seem like his personality. And why, Luis Elizondo is just, is passive aggressive, right? He's just trying to imply this guy's a weakling. I gave him my number. He was crying to me. And yes, sir. Oh, yes, sir. I'll call you. I don't buy that. I don't buy that any of that happened. I'm not saying it didn't. I'm just saying I don't buy it the way Luis Elizondo just told it, right? And clearly, again, he is kind of laying down a passive-aggressive threat, in my opinion, towards UAP Gerb, right? And to Ross Coulthart and to News Nation, right? I guarantee you things are happening behind the scenes and Luis Elizondo is making calls, right? And again, kind of proving Gerb's point and points I've made about Luis Elizondo on this show as well. This is what he does. This is it. Again, but I don't really trust what Gerb's saying either. When it comes to legacy program stuff, this, that, the other. I don't think Luis Elizondo was running some UFO legacy program. You know what I mean? I don't buy any of that stuff. But again, it's all just murky, weird stuff and just don't know where to stand on it. There's no way to know any of the truth of this because no evidence is provided for any of the claims made, right? Of stuff Gerb said, stuff Luis Elizondo said, no evidence. We're getting no evidence of anything, just opinions, which is fine. But some is stated as opinions and others are stated as fact, right? From my sources, right? Gerb and Ross have inside sources inside the legacy program, made a whole video about that, right? Again, it's just insane. That's why I'm doing this documentary, this new one that I'm doing, right? I'm going out, boots on the ground, going to see, real people who, have real stories. And that's what I want to talk about. And that's what I want to tell. Having to cover some of this stuff is just insanity. And it's very frustrating. And I think you as a listener, you're watching, exactly, you just don't know what to do. Okay, you take in this information. What do I do with that? And they want you to build your, this sort of structure in your mind of what the truth is about the legacy program, about the government cover-up, who are the players in this game. They want you to build this structure of it in your mind, this blueprint that they're trying to lay out for you, right? With no evidence or proof. You know what I mean? And then you're just like, yeah, that's it. That's what's going on. This is the good guy and that's the bad guy. This is the program and that's not the program. I don't trust any of it. Anyway, let me know what you think down in the comments. I got one more clip. I recently made a video about Danny Sheehan talking about this particular thing that Ross and Gerb are going to bring up. And for me, it's another example of why this is all fucking bullshit. Pardon my French.
There's an allegation that I noticed Jesse Michaels ran on his recent American Alchemy summary of all of these incredible allegations. I thought it was fantastic.
It was great.
And he did an analysis in which he mentioned an allegation that I was quite shocked to hear being made publicly. But seeing Jesse made it, I'm going to make it here. I know it's true that civilian aircraft have been inadvertently brought down by electromagnetic pulse weapons.
An aircraft flies into a temporary flight restrictive zone, TFR, and is haphazardly hit and individuals are killed. I have been exposed to that information as well.
U.S. government is shooting down commercial and private airplanes. Again, made a whole video about it. I'm going to put a link in the description. Please go check it out. Danny Sheehan has literally said this. And so interesting. Again, I go in that video, I go over all the red flags when you hear a story like that. So go check it out if you want more information of me covering that. And I guess they're going to be talking about that again, and I'll be covering it again when that happens. But again, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. I'm sure some of you in the comments are going to be telling me, got it all figured out. You know what's going on. You don't. You don't. I don't. They don't. Nobody does. Who knows, right? But let's have fun in the comments. And my next trip, I'm going to Psy Games. I'm going to be hanging out with Gino from the Y-Files and some other crew. Astral as well. Psy Games is in Charlotte, North Carolina, where people claim to have special abilities are going to show off those abilities and compete for like medals, I guess, and stuff, right? Like it's like the Olympics for people with, you know, special abilities. Not that kind of special, more, you know, telekinesis and remote viewing and, you know, so I'll let y'all know how it goes. I'll be doing some videos while I'm down there. I've got to, just looked at my non-existent watch here. I've got to catch a flight and head to Charlotte. So we'll see you guys on the next one. Remember about us. Every day's a gift, y'all. Peace.